Hope that works. All right, so we're live. I'm using a new microphone system, so I gotta check the YouTube to see if that's working. It's nice. Hey, El Presidente.
El Presidente.
What's up, boys?
I'm gonna dump this over here in front of me. All right, that makes sense. Move you guys.
I want to tell you that we finished that very nice Derby bean bottle the other night. I opened it on Derby night.
Yeah, I saw that. Man, that was so cool.
But there was a couple of nice pours left in it, so I went ahead the other night watching an old Clint Eastwood movie. It just kind of seemed right. So
yeah, that's awesome, man.
Thank you again, my brother.
Hey, you're welcome. My pleasure, brother.
All right,
that just makes me feel good.
Kind of tingly inside.
Yes, absolutely.
I feel honored. I actually sat there right to Jeffrey's right behind that Elijah Craig bottle. The morning after our prison adventure. Absolutely. I feel honored. I actually sat there right to Jeffrey's right behind that Elijah Craig bottle. On delay, Jeffrey.
No, I'm just now. The delay was coming off of YouTube, but that's just because I was making sure the microphones were working.
Oh.
Thanks,
dude. I told you it'd be a close call. It was tight to get here. I did not speed.
That's good.
Not much.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Look what I picked up at Evan Williams Bourbon Experience.
The Square 6? The weeded?
Square 6 weeded. 105 proof.
You didn't think of picking me up one, did you?
No.
Thanks.
And I was talking to the guy, and when he found out who I was, he says, hey, do you want a Evan Williams red label? I was like, well, yeah. He said, wait over here for a few minutes, let some of this crowd get out. I'll pull you out one of those too. It's usually for just the people that take the tour. I said, okay. I took Marcus and Marshall in there, and we talked with the people over at Old Forester, and they were just so packed out. And they were hoping that this group wasn't going to show up, and they were going to put us on the end of this other tour. And we're like, well, we just called them, and they're running a few minutes late, so we're really packed. And he said, we'd love to put you on it, but they're just so packed out that I don't want to overwhelm the people today, so blah, blah, blah. No problem. You always take care of me every time we're up here anyway. So I saw Carly. She was the one that did the tour with me the last time I was in there. And so we went up there by a big penny, took a few pictures in front of that.
That's awesome. Freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was going to take them up to the bar, but by the time we got down to Evan Williams Bourbon Experience there, they were just about ready to close up.
Yeah. But yeah, you were. Did you hear that, Randy? That he was up there for the hot rod. He was in Louisville for the hot rod.
I wanted to go so badly. I drove by the fairgrounds a couple times. That is absolutely my kind of a thing, and I just couldn't get there last weekend.
Yeah, my brothers, they always built hot rods all their lives, you know. And my oldest brother right now, he's got like a 61 Galaxy 500. He only saw one of them out there. Out of the 10,000 cars.
The old 64 Falcons and 65 Galaxies. My buddy had a 428 Cobra Jet in it.
Oh wow.
And we're not on the air or anything yet, right?
We are. We're live on Facebook and YouTube now. Yeah.
go with. I won't tell the story about my friend and I driving that
Yeah. Thanks.
Galaxy.
Thanks.
Town.
I just noticed Stacy's watching, so thanks for holding off on that one.
Yeah. Stacy and I had a conversation today about the president of the Kentucky Bourbon Festival being properly represented and interviewed on air. So thank you, Stacy.
All right.
Oh, that's just like, isn't that like the wrong thing to say to you?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's one thing. I think you're just your personality, even on TV or when you're at the Derby or you're on the morning news, or you're on Bob and Brian, is pretty much straightforward. It's you come through.
It's me.
It's you. All right, everybody. Let's get this ball rolling. There'll be a 30-second for our sponsor, the Spirit of French Lick and Rosewood Bourbon, Rye and Bourbons and Rye. They sponsor the Scotchy Bourbon Boys along with Alan Bishop, who is now at Old Homestead Distillery, but he still is doing the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute, and If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything, which is a great podcast. That podcast is one of the coolest podcasts because he's always talking to people in the spirits industries about spirits. So, double up. So that's kind of cool. All right. So I'm going to hit the start button. We'll do that. We'll go right into the theme song by, oh my God, Kenny Fuller. And we'll get going. Drinking bourbon, sipping on some scotch. We give it a while, it's sure fun to watch. We love what we do, we're drinking every brew. Man, we talk songs, but we're telling the truth. Yeah, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, raising the hell, making some noise. Yeah, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. We're here to have fun and we hope you enjoy. We're here to have fun. Yeah. Woo! All right, there you go. That's a good technical problem to have, right?
All right.
Welcome to another podcast of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Tonight we have a very, very special guest, somebody who's been on the podcast many, many times, but every time it's just an honor to have him on. Sometimes
Absolutely.
I just pinch myself because I know him. But the president of the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, Randy Prasse, everybody, woo! Yes.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome, Randy.
I'm always so humbled when you say that kind of stuff, you big goof.
Well, I mean, it's just like, what's so great about, and then we also, let's just go welcome Super Nash. Super Nash is with us, but when we have El President,
not quite as much as an honor as it is having Randy here.
Well, but we both are honored, right?
Yes,
That's what
absolutely.
it is. He's El Presidente of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. It's just,
yes, he is.
Thank you. I love you guys, and that's actually the only reason I come on this thing anymore, because you always make me feel this way at the beginning.
Well, I mean, it's just kind of like your bourbon journey. We were there kind of right at the start of it,
We
and that
were. And I was telling, I had a couple meetings tonight, and I was telling someone about you guys, and I said everything that we've done with the media row, how we're taking care of our media friends, it all started, even before our first festival together, was based on your other experience with the festival. And remember, I said I want to do a media row. I want our media to know how important they are. I want you to be able to do interviews and do your business. And so that very first year, we had a little row of tents along the fence line there, next to the old main stage, and everything is kind of built off of that. So I always keep that in mind when you and I are working together. If you guys were there and kind of helped us form this new media environment that we offer. So thank you for that.
or
And it has tremendously grown, and I think it's brought in a lot more media attention, and which helps spread the word.
Yeah, thank you for that.
I mean,
You were there before day one, so thank you.
I mean, even that first year that we came down during the week that the festival was supposed to happen, and really got to kind of know. I mean, also me and you grew up in the Wisconsin area with very similar childhoods. When that was the same time period. In York, we probably crossed paths at the state fair when you were,
No doubt.
and so there was we have had a lot in common. Mainly, if you wanted to, one big one is our love for Packers. I have a love for National League Baseball. I tend more to the Milwaukee Brewers, and you're more towards the Cubs. But I've always loved Wrigley and the Cubs, and that's something that when you lived in that area, you went down to Wrigley and you saw baseball games, and we kind of, hit it off there. But also, I mean, when I think about the what's going to happen at the festival this year, and what the festival was that first year that I was there, in 2019, which, there was some really nice things about it because I was just getting into bourbon. And so there was, got to meet the Nose. They had a Jim Beam dinner, and you kind of got the Bardstown experience. But what it's evolved from that, just like there was no media the first time when we were down there,
Right.
that wasn't, and there were not, it was more like there was no, what would you say, coordinated effort for anybody to be, the whole festival was just kind of like you walked to the couple tents. They had some stuff for tasting. At the time, you couldn't you the first in 2019 you could carry around a mixed drink. That was the first year that they could do it. But the distilleries, it had just changed, and not they weren't all participating in it. You know what I mean? And so there,
We had 9 distilleries on the lawn that year.
yeah. And what do we got this year?
63.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow,
it's
what
there's
a difference.
it's not the same festival. And one thing, as we all know, if you've listened to you being on here before, we all know, that's what you were. That's when they hired you, and how you had run you were with Kentucky Derby. You had done the Wisconsin State Fair. You had, and you also understand security. So it's all part of just putting on the festival. And I mean, one of the things I'm most proud of you on is the fact that you hold a whiskey festival, which basically lasts, for three what is it, 3 days and 3 nights, right? The Thursday night, but then Friday and Saturday and Sunday in the day. And so overall, but you don't have, it's a whiskey festival where people can be drinking a lot, but you don't have that unruly people going out into the streets getting, there's no, the crowd that you've drawn, and how you set up that festival really is quite phenomenal.
Well, and thank you. And I mean, that's a testament to the quality of bourbon enthusiasts that we attract, and the serious approach that they have to being responsible in their enjoyment of the brown water. I see all over the place. There are always designated drivers, groups of people that they're here Friday. One of them draws the short straw, and they're the DD. And they take their turns to make sure everybody gets home safely and has a good time. But even when we're standing there, it's a whiskey festival, and I'm proud of this. There have been no alcohol related incidents, arrests, according to the police department, thus far during the last couple of years of this new version. And I always knock on wood, and I always pray that continues, because it's a safety issue. But people know how to act, and they're friends, and they watch out for each other, and they go have a good time. And we close at 6 o'clock at night, so people can go back to the hotels and rest and shower up and freshen up, and then go out and enjoy the community as a result. And so, I mean, that's something we take very seriously. So thank you for bringing that up. We're all proud of that. It's a team effort, which includes our people that come to the festival and buy the tickets. They know they know all it takes is someone to do it wrong, and it kind of makes it challenging for us to continue. So thank you for that. But when you have the police chief and the assistant chief coming to the city council meeting when we're asking for all of our permits, the two top ranking police officers on the force are there to stand up and advocate for us if needed. That doesn't happen a lot, so that is something that we take very proud of too.
And you also got to give a good shout out to your complete staff, because throughout the whole festival, your staff is constantly aware of what's going on during the festival, along with these people that are going throughout the festival and drinking and partaking. And if there's any kind of problem that arises, they're there right on the spot, to help out or to alleviate the situation, before it escalates or in which I don't think there actually has been a situation.
This is a party, Nash. This is a party. It should be fun, and we're starting this conversation kind of serious, but it is a lot of fun. If you haven't been, it is fun. It's not. Yeah. It's not overbearing on the responsibility piece. Everybody is told, from the distilleries to our staff to the guests, be responsible. Don't mess this up for everyone. But it is a lot of fun. And you walk through there, you see people having fun, but you also see the people that are responsible for making sure that they get home safely after they have fun. So
absolutely,
we're a bunch of grown-ups.
It's a bourbon family reunion. It's like going to a family reunion. You know what I mean? Yeah. And or we could even go, I mean, that's kind of what it is. I mean, everybody, even the people that are attending, look out for the other people that are attending, because we all, we've all been over, what would you say? We've all overindulged a couple times. It happens to people. But one of the great things I find that when you come down into Bardstown area or whatever, if someone's doing that, there's a lot of people and a lot of support to help them out, whether it be the people or the staff at the festival, or just the people in the festival, because everybody understands what you're there for. You're there to party and have fun, but we're all there to drink responsibly and be able to do it. I mean, because it's a marathon. I mean, that's the one thing. Other festivals that I've attended, they noon to 6, or let's just say 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and it's over. It's a one-time shot. But this festival, starts Thursday night and finishes Sunday early afternoon. And when you think about that, you have to pace yourself, otherwise you're going to miss out. Who wants to overindulge on Friday night, and Saturday you got a bunch of stuff planned and you feel like crap? So I really think that's part of the fact that it's a marathon, that people really, really enjoy it. But let's get on to what is happening this year.
Yeah, and the timeliness of this is interesting, because we have been pacing very well with our ticket sales, and we're forecasting right now, today's Thursday, that we'll probably be sold out again for the 4th consecutive year, Sunday afternoon, maybe Monday morning, based on what our ticket allowances are. So
go get them.
So if you haven't gotten your tickets, go get them, because we're down to 100, maybe give or take a few tickets, and we've been selling about 20 to 25 a day. throughout. So it's very humbling to take an event that was free for 30 years and do what we've done with focus on distilleries, and then to have this many people buying tickets and wanting to be there, and the social media buzz has been tremendous this year. And so I mean, it just, if you haven't gotten your tickets and you're thinking about it, you better go look in the next day or so, because they probably will be gone by midday on Monday if we don't have a really strong week. Otherwise, it could be Sunday when we're sold out. And we're not overselling. We're not going to create more tickets. So, but Jeffrey, I think I've said on this before, when I was with the Wisconsin State Fair, and you could technically fill in any state fair. These state fairs have been around for 100 and some years. A lot of tradition, heritage. People like to see the same things that they did when they were kids. Now they're bringing their kids. So when I took over this festival, there were some cool things, but people are like, right now, like, you're not going to change anything, right? I mean, you finally got it dialed in, but then they followed up with, well, what's new this year? So that's kind of our balance, is how do we do what we did in 2021 and through? And so there's that, what you're going to get the distilleries, you're going to get the great tent, you're going to get the park-like setting and the shade and all of that. But what are we doing new? We're on year 4. There are people that have been to the festival every year since we've done the new model. But there are people that were at the old festival and then gave us a chance and they fell in love with the new festival. So we're always trying to keep it fresh. I mean, we always know that someone's going to eventually, these groups are going to go, hey, you know what? The boys group this year, let's go to Vegas, or the ladies, let's go and do a golf outing or whatever. So I know we're going to lose people eventually, but we're always trying to make sure that we're offering something new and exciting so that you can see that it's a different event. And you guys have been there every day, 2019, 21, 22, 23, this year, 24. I love seeing your reaction when you walk in, because you know what it's going to be, something different and bigger. But when you first see it, you're like, oh my gosh, this is, crazy. So I love that reaction.
Yeah, we go down there the whole week before and get to watch you start. You're assembling. It's like initially the first year that you were assembling compared to what you were doing the last year. Last year you were the tents were going up earlier and everything was, but I think for you, where people don't realize, but when you first throw a festival in a space that you personally never threw a festival, and now we're 4 years into you throwing festivals, your space. And so you kind of knew where the nooks and the crannies that, the little areas that were being wasted, or maybe how, let's just say, a distillery or a vendor wasted the space, and you've fine-tuned that part. You could see that last year, how well you fine-tuned where everybody was. There wasn't there wasn't a lot of open space, or there wasn't any empty spaces or whatever. Everything was filled in. And this year again, I mean, you're out of space, but you were able to move into a couple different areas that you weren't using and rearrange the space. But then let's talk about the space that basically is, I mean, you're building a double decker, what's the square footage on that tent?
The first year we did this, the craft distilleries in 2021, it was the first time the craft distilleries were included, and there were 17 of them, and that was half of our distilleries. We had 34 total, up from 9 in 2019, and half of them were craft. So that whole area that used to be the spirit garden and everything, that was our craft distillers row. And now, since we've gotten some agreements with our neighbors, the church, St. Joseph's, and the city has been very supportive, we've moved all the non-distillery, the vendors, the food vendors, the great tent, the media tent, they're all into a new venue. And so now the main lawn and the craft area is all distilleries. And, so we were allowing craft distilleries to go and double their space. So you got a 10 by 10 tent. Now we got a bunch of them doing 10 by 20s. We're telling all of the distilleries to really bring their A game when it comes to the presentation. We're doing a People's Choice Award this year for the 3 different levels of distilleries. So there's an incentive to really bring it, all the decor and the lighting and all the interactive kind of stuff. But to your point, we took over the entire St. Joseph's Church parking lot next to us. That my first 2 years, I was parking. I was literally a parking lot. The church was charging a lot of money for people to park there, and then you had the festival. And our only logical expansion was there. So we partnered with them. So now we have the entire parking lot. Last year we put food trucks. This year, all of the vendors, the soaps and syrups and honeys and candles and all the barrel furniture will be there. The great tent that was normally on the main lawn for the last couple of years is out there. The media hospitality that we started last year is moved out there. And Fifth Street is closed the whole week of the festival for load in and setup for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that's where all of our food trucks are going to be. And 3 or 4 big dining tents. So as you're walking along and enjoying your food truck experience, you've got a place to sit down and eat and get a break from whatever the weather might be, whether it be sunny and hot or rainy. Hopefully not. But what that did was allow us to bring all of the distilleries, space them out, let them increase. I think we have 3 or 4 of the mid-level distilleries, like an Angel's Envy, who's jumped up to the bigger size. We've got Brown Forman, who had 1 tent for Old Forester and Woodford. Well, now they have 2 tents. So Woodford is in one, Old Forester's in one. And so as we do this, and I already have 2 distilleries for next year that are looking at doing a double-decker like we're doing with this this year. And these things are made in Germany and engineered and brought over. We literally have the president of the tent company coming this year to the festival to see what we're doing with it. So
wow. And that double decker tent, it's double OK. That double decker
double OK.
That double decker tent is basically the bottom part is going to be merchandise, right? Your store,
yep.
And above is the cigar lounge, correct?
Right.
Which we've been trying to book that cigar lounge. Nash, did you finally get it booked yet?
No,
not yet. We're trying.
I just sent her another email just a few days ago, actually on Sunday, on my way back, and explaining that I still can't get in there with my code.
I wonder why. We'll help you. And we will get that done after we sell out of tickets. Literally the only upgrade that people will have is that a cigar lounge. So we will focus on that for a month. But we're full transparency. We're a nonprofit. You can go onto our website and find all of our paperwork that shows our revenues and expenses. But this year I just signed a contract and paid a deposit to our big tent company that's doing this double decker. 2021, our entire tent budget for all of the tents that you saw was $46,000, which is a big number.
Right.
Yeah.
This year, that double decker alone is costing me $58,000 for one structure.
You said that picture.
That's unreal.
That picture, man.
Whatever.
It's like a luxury house. What's the square footage? I mean, I'm just like looking at it and I'm thinking that it almost is a permanent structure that isn't permanent. I mean, you just look at it. You call it a tent. That's not a tent. That's a permanent structure with glass window or plexiglass windows. I mean, it was just crazy.
For insurance purposes and for the state, for permitting it as a temporary structure. So you're right. The word tent is not in the correct vernacular, but it is. But it's what people wanted. It's a statement piece to show that we're continuing to grow and reinvest in the experience. And again, there are 2 or 3 distilleries that are going to. It's like an open house for a model home. Prada Homes. We will have every distillery and sponsor of the festival go and visit that and see if they can do that. I can't say who's going to do it next year, but one of them for sure is going to do it, and it's going to blow your mind. But we can do on the ground level your traditional tastings that are going on now on the ground level. And the second level, the intention is to either allow that distillery to upgrade guests to go upstairs and have a different experience. We're talking to one about doing barrel picks. So you might have 2 people on Friday and 2 people on Saturday, 2 groups that will come up and do barrel picks at the Bourbon Festival. And then, so there's so many things we can do, but the distilleries are understanding it. They're seeing that we're putting them first and always focusing on what they can do and how, last year, the bottle sales changed the game,
Mhm.
and they realize now the money that they can make selling bottles directly to our customers, it all of a sudden justifies the investment that they can make on making the overall presentation that much stronger. So we
Right.
knew, Jeffrey Nash, we knew year one. Remember, we had those stores. We're sitting
Yeah.
at that old farmhouse thing doing one of these, banging
Yeah.
on a bongo or whatever.
Yep.
Barrel bashing. Yep.
But,
Yeah.
Yep. But I said,
Yeah.
you know, when the distilleries finally figure it out and they see the potential on what they can do, and we're the only whiskey festival in the world where you can go and buy bottles directly from the distilleries, and you can have master distillers sign them, take them home. You know, the single barrels that can, you know, we can talk about that whenever, but we've got 45 or 46 single barrels with 38 different distilleries. We had some that we couldn't decide between the two, and they said, well, let's just bottle them both. So we've got a few that are offering two. Some is a high rye and some's a wheated bourbon. But when I said you come to this bourbon festival, you're going to get an experience and buy bottles you can't get anywhere else in the world. This year it's true. You literally cannot go and buy these bottles. You just showed the chicken cock. That was the first single barrel that Chicken Cock did in their history back to 1855.
Yeah.
And if Greg's on here, thank you, brother. I mean, I've got a bottle of that, and there's one of them that I won't open because that was that cool of an experience to have Greg Snyder sitting there doing that with us. But you can't even go down the street to Evergreen Liquors, our retail partner, and buy these 45 or 46 bottles. You got to buy them at the festival. So I'm so geeked about being able to offer that this year.
Greg is here, and he says, many thanks to Randy, David Mandel, and their entire team for taking the KBF a new and much improved direction.
Thanks.
Well,
Those are his words exactly.
I mean,
Tyler, Tyler on Greg's team, we talk to him all the time. These distilleries, they get it. They're reinvesting in it. And I tell you, after 35 years of doing events with sponsorships, including the Derby, this is the one and only experience that I've had where I'm walking through the lawn last year at the festival. I had two different distilleries pull me aside and say, our contract is up. We need to renew. We need to extend this. I have one distillery that said if we did 4 of these a year, they'd do all 4 of them. That doesn't get to that without us listening to the distilleries and giving them the experience that not that they want, they need to justify their involvement. And so this is serious business, but we listen to the distilleries. We always put them first. Anybody listening that's a customer, you're always going to be number 2 behind our distilleries. Sorry, but in the end, you win because as long as the distilleries know that we're focusing on them, you will win because these distilleries will bring their A games and then some.
Well,
Absolutely.
that's it.
And Stacy did put a correction in there and said 45.
Okay, well, thank you, Stacy. I said 45 or 46. I was rounding up.
Yeah. But
Stacy,
go ahead.
Stacy she's watching, she's following along.
Yeah.
And you guys, and I'm not being a superhero, but the first year or two, it was me. It was like I'm doing the distillery stuff, I'm doing the layouts, I'm deciding what catering is going to happen in VIP and whatever. I can't do it anymore. And Stacy came on 2 years ago as a volunteer. And after that festival, the people that knew Stacy said, you gotta bring Stacy on board. The people that didn't know who she was said, whoever that dynamo is needs to be on your team.
Yeah.
So my number one recruiting push, and she knows this, was to get her on our team. And we have 63 distilleries, and I absolutely could not do it. So Stacy, thank you. I know the next 30 days there's a lot of tension and everything going on, but we have that pinky swear going on that we're always going to have each other's back. So you can't, it is a team. I've got 6 people that are on the top of their game: public relations, creative marketing. I've got merchandise, the same company that does all the Kentucky Bourbon Trail stuff and all the Bourbon Festival and Churchill Downs Derby stuff. That's our retail partner.
And the board.
We have these partnerships, and we assembled a team now that we're really cranking. So this year and next year, it's going to be amazing.
Well,
wow.
just
Awesome.
the evolution, like you said, the first couple years that we would attend the festival, I couldn't even get near you because you were everything. If there was a problem in tickets, you were there. If there was a problem here or there, and it was like we really, when we went to the festival, you would like give us a couple things just to make sure we were all right. But other than that, but last year at the festival, you actually got to walk around and actually have people walk up to you and say, "Hey, let's renew the contract," that kind of thing. Whereas
this year is my focus. The
I-
first year I avoided you. The second year, no, I'm kidding. I love you. But I mean this sincerely. There are distilleries that I put everything into delivering that program, but for those 3 days, I've been so preoccupied with operational stuff that I haven't stopped and given that 5 minutes of face-to-face thank you for being here. That is my commitment this year. Is I've got to do that. I've got to get out of t-shirts and combat boots and radio hanging on my,
well,
and,
just don't remove your
Wait.
face to this year. Keep your face on.
It healed really nicely.
Yeah, you were actually, even though you were out and about, you were in hiding mode because you just wanted to get your good side, when you were out there. But
Anybody listening, watching, that I had second-degree burns the week before the festival on this half of my face, and yes, I was told by my doctor that I had to stay out of the sun for 2 to 3 weeks, which obviously the week before the Bourbon Festival that didn't happen. So I got the big hat and I got a bunch of shade trees, and so no, I am bubble wrapped right now. My construction and burning brush, all of that is done for the until the fourth quarter of the year after the festival.
I even remember during, I think it was the second year that I was helping you run power cords and fix breaker boxes for
Yep.
I think for Justin's House of Bourbon that year.
A couple
Right.
years ago,
you were a
yeah.
man of many hats that year,
Yeah.
and still are. But
But
you got a team working with you now.
I do. And you guys are part of that team. I mean, you come in early and help Stacy with the setup. And if anybody out there loves the Bourbon and Bourbon Festival, we absolutely are taking volunteers. You volunteer to work a day, you get tickets to the festival. So I mean, we're really building our volunteer army up. We once had a really strong local volunteer base, and volunteerism in general is difficult these days.
Yeah.
But we're really working. We have a full-time volunteer coordinator. I want to do something that's going to identify Bourbon Festival volunteers to where they're proud. Last year we, some jackets and whatever. We want people to know that we love them, and we cannot do a festival of this size on the backs of 6 people, right? So,
yeah.
But it is very humbling, and I every once in a while I've been forced into conversationally to think back about 2020 and 2021 and a lot of the chaos involving putting that first year on, and the 6 inches of rain the day before we opened. We literally had a river running down through the main festival grounds and mud, and we pulled it off. And just what we've done since then is just. So I mean, we haven't talked a lot about the details, but I feel like people that are watching this at least are familiar with the festival, have been there. kybourbonfestival.com. You can go and check out who's going to be there for Distilleries and the schedule and everything. But we're that close to selling out, which, again, thinking of this festival being a free event that was family friendly, like a town street fair, nothing wrong with that. But we took it from that to where we are now, where people are considering this to be, the preeminent whiskey event in the world.
Yep.
Is very humbling. So the time that you give us to come on here and talk, I mean, beyond the friendship, it's very humbling for me. And I sometimes I get emotional because I think about what we've done together and the risk that the board took. And these distilleries, I looked them in the eye. I had not produced one thing yet. 2020, 2021, masks on sometimes. I said, this is what we're going to do. And you can't be sponsors. This isn't NASCAR. We're not slapping a logo on something. I need you to be an investor in the future of this festival. If we're going to build the festival that you've been telling us that we need to be, so 3-year commitment, sight unseen. These major distilleries are signing 3-year deals and investing in it, and I don't think we've let them down at all. And so that's very humbling, because we wouldn't have been able to do this if we just had some informal, casual sponsors. It never would have happened. But we have investors that really wanted to make this thing work, and it is.
So just when you were talking about your commitment is to the distilleries first, but what makes this festival so phenomenal is honestly the distilleries commitment is to the attendees. So just because you're committing to those distilleries, that is the commitment so they can be there. Now, what we've seen, and I've always known, I mean, that first year you could sell bottles and we were there, and the law had changed like 3 months before the festival, and none of them really realized. And so that first year, they kind of got it. What?
Jeffrey, they didn't know how to do it.
No,
These,
but like
distilleries been around for 150 years.
right.
The law changed, but they didn't know how to take their bricks and mortar gift shop and do it in the middle of
A festival.
lawn.
Right,
I mean,
right. And sell whiskey. Now I have to admit, Heaven Hill that first year, they had a lot of stuff that they had killed by COVID. You know what I mean? So when they released some bottles that nobody thought, everybody, and then the response from the people was so phenomenal. People were just like, hey, it just was like a buzz on that first night at Bourbon on the Banks. Now last year, they kind of did figure it out. And then you had the craft distilleries just basically doing everything and anything. And then, if there's anything that they were unhappy was that they couldn't figure out how to get their stuff sold. Now you fixed that this year. I mean, we actually have, what is it? Oh my God, I'm always running into, not green, what's the liquor, your agency that's in town. What is it?
SSPR?
No. For the selling bottles.
With the craft distillers to be able to sell their bottles.
Evergreen, sorry.
Yeah,
Evergreen,
Evergreen's going to have a bottle shop there, correct?
Yes, and last year after the festival, we found out that there were a few distilleries that didn't have the right licensing to properly participate, and the options was going to be, we tell those 8 or 9 distilleries, sorry, you can't be here, or knowing me, and Stacy rolls her eyes and gets mad at me, but I'm competitive. I don't like to lose. I don't like people to tell me that we can't do something. So we went to Mike Fisk at Evergreen Liquors. They have the bricks and mortar shop that opened last year, the week of the festival, right down the street, a full-blown retail shop. And I said, we've got 8 distilleries that can't participate, but what if we did this? What if we did a bottle shop where they're under your roof, and you coordinate all the sampling and bottle sales? So the result is, for our customers and for these distilleries, we've got 8 distilleries there: Kentucky Owl, Milam and Green, EJ Curley, Three Chord. They're there being able to participate in the sampling and the selling legally because of the way we've worked this out. So it's a win-win. So the old bottle shop, the Justin's that you mentioned, that was our single barrel zone.
Right.
We need, the law hadn't changed yet, so we wanted to do single barrels, but the distilleries had to have a 3-tier outlet, a retail outlet.
Yeah.
When the laws changed, the distilleries were allowed through their gift shop provision to offer single barrels, limited editions, exclusives through their gift shop. So what you're seeing at the Bourbon Festival is the distilleries selling them now. So instead of going to one shop and standing in line and hoping that what you want is going to be there, if you want a Four Roses, boom, go to Four Roses. Maker's Mark, Heaven Hill, Elijah Craig, those things, you can go to the craft distilleries directly and buy. And it's crazy. And again, it wasn't, I didn't do anything other than know how to exploit the law to our advantage. Stacy and I have become, I told her yesterday I had just passed the bar exam in Kentucky because we know so much about the spirits law.
Right.
And Stacy, like right there, Stacy's on point, like going in, a distillery wants to be a part of the festival. She knows before I can reply to an email if they can legally. So, but yeah, net result is the distilleries get it. And last year you saw a little bit of it where they were bringing out, like Beam brought out, what was it, Baker's 13?
Yeah.
They said, we're going to bring everything we have in our inventory and we're going to start it there and sell it. And whatever's left, we'll put back in the store. And, and Heaven Hill did things. And I know for a fact that Heaven Hill and Beam sold more bottles, product sales at those 3 days at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival than they did at their bricks and mortar after your distillery tours and things. So if you sit back and think about that, this little 3-day festival out in the middle of this little park is outperforming their permanent operation that's made to sell bottles.
That people now there's a lot of people, there, when you go to Jim Beam and you take their tour and everything, there's a lot of people that like bourbon, but they're kind of on the bourbon trail and whatever. But the people at the festival, you are talking serious bourbon collectors and people who just absolutely. So when you're talking the festival, it's not like you said. Right now there are still tickets available. It's August. Within a month going in, and that's the way it's always been. It's
sell
like
out a week earlier every year.
Yeah.
Like last year, I think we sold out August 22nd, and then now it's August 12th. Sold out.
The VIP sells out in seconds, but or a minute or whatever it is. It's just now this year, from everything I heard, the way it was set up on the website, a lot of people were very happy with it. How they were able to get a couple VIPs opposed to only one, and so.
And we learned last year, we tripped on ourselves, and we figured it out. But a brand new website this year, a renewed partnership with our online box office, and they were humbled, I guess, by the volume that we put out for this little bitty festival. I mean, they're doing like large music festivals. We're very complex. I had an hour and a half conversation today, twice with them. We have so many different ticket levels and add-ons and things. It's a very complex little city that we build. But yeah, so we sold out. And Jeffrey, I just want to correct you on one thing or add something to your first comment. Bourbon enthusiasts, the serious, the diehards, you too. You know what you're doing. You know what you're looking for. You enjoy it. But we also get a lot of first-time, the novice. Yeah. And so when Stacy and I are planning this and we're talking to the distilleries, we want something that the diehard enthusiast is going to be like, holy cow, this is it. But we don't want to be intimidating to the people that are coming in, and people always say, I don't like bourbon. I want to try. What do you suggest? And I'm always like, well, Maker's 46. Or, I try to give them something that they're going to enjoy to kind of get them into it. But I said, come to the festival. You can take the most advanced enthusiast and the most novice person and put them together, and there's no shame. It's like, come on, let's go on this journey together. Let's get going.
Yeah, and, definitely.
That's one thing I love about this festival is that it's not just for the diehard. We hope that there's enough there to keep people really engaged, but I don't want to scare people off. Like, oh, I'm not a bourbon guy or girl. Danny Kahn, master distiller, Buffalo Trace, 1792. You can nerd and geek out with that guy as long as you want, but he also understands the basic. Let's get people in and get them into the hobby and get them into and not scare them away. So You'll sit and talk to somebody at this level until he realizes that, oh, this person's here. All right, we'll go up and everyone. Greg Snyder can do the same thing.
Now I can back you up on that. Last year, when totally did the festival media wise different, because I actually went out, and this was Jeff's idea or Tiny's idea, that I went out and individually interviewed people. That was my job mostly during the festival, was to go out and interview people. So I was going around the whole time, all 3 days, and just walking up to people and interviewing and find out where they were from, if it was their first time, their 10th time, or how many times they've been there, what they liked about the festival, what they disliked about the festival, and everything. And I was recording it, and so I've got all the answers. And I met people that it was their first time. Some people, they were there with their significant other that liked bourbon. Some were there and they were just enjoying the artwork and the furniture and the other crafts that were there, because their significant other loved the bourbon and the whiskey and all. And so
thank you for mentioning that, Nash. Nash on the Street. I can already see.
Yeah.
See your own series. But the bourbon marketplace, people do love to come and shop. And I just met with our entertainment director today, and I said, we have these little stages. We're not a music festival, but we have to have quality music as a layer of the experience. And when I was in Gettysburg, we did it's called plein air, PLEIN, plein air, which means open space artists. So an artist would sit on the battlefield in Gettysburg with their easel and paint. And so we're doing more of that now, like this year. So as you're walking through the festival, you will see a number of artists that are sitting there painting Spalding Hall, or maybe they'll have a little photo clipped up on their easel and they're painting Heaven Hill Distillery, one of the Rick houses or something. But there's all these layers that add to that experience, and people that aren't really into bourbon per se can still enjoy a nice time at the event, and the food trucks and the music and the art and just it's a tremendous environment.
Okay.
I mean, it's part
that's too far.
Yeah, well,
because you gotta wait. You cannot.
They were just sitting there enjoying the music when the little bands were playing on the stage and all that, while their others were walking around and doing the tasting.
I agree,
so.
but either you like if you're the spouse that's there with your husband, with your wife or your husband or whatever. I can see that. Okay, there's stuff for somebody else, but overall. I mean, if you want to learn about bourbon, this is a great place to come to, but you have to have some interest in bourbon to go. Right.
Yeah. Right. You're right. I mean, but it is a bourbon festival, right? I never want to fight of the fact that we create this thing around bourbon. It's Kentucky's #1 ag export. It's one of the top tourism drivers, if not the #1 tourism driver. 85% of the people that come to this festival are coming from outside of Kentucky. So it is a major economic impact for the region. And, so I never lose sight of that. But it also can't just be about bourbon. I mean, to Jeffrey's point, it's a marathon.
Yep.
You can't drink bourbon all day. So, I mean, we do have beer, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that. Scout and Scholar, we all know it, a block away from the festival. We're doing our first ever collaboration with them. I was there a week ago, Tuesday, brewing. I'm literally I'm dumping ingredients in, I'm brewing, and we're doing a wheat beer that is going to be an old-fashioned theme. So Jody Filiantro from Evan Williams brought a barrel over. We're going to put staves in, and we're going to age this wheat beer with some staves. And then we're going to put a cherry puree and orange zest. And I got Scrappy's bitters, 2 gallons of Scrappy's bitters, $500 for these bitters. And we're going to introduce that, and we're going to can and or have on draft our first ever Kentucky Bourbon Festival old-fashioned wheat collaboration. So there's a lot of kind of stuff going on.
That sounds amazing.
No, you were in heaven. That's just heaven for you. You're combining your love for a good craft beer exactly with the flavors you want to add in, and then you're dropping it into a Heaven Hill barrel and then adding staves. I mean, that sounds like it's that day was just like you were just like, wow, I never thought this would happen.
It was 98 degrees and muggier than hell in Bardstown, and I'm in the brewery with all this steam going on, and I mean it was a brutal day, but it was so much fun. And Lee, who's the head brewer at Scout and Scholar, I call him the evil genius. And you guys know me. I'm as much of a craft beer guy as I am a bourbon guy, and I've had beer from all over the country. I've never had a bad beer from this guy, and I don't like sours. He made me drink one of his sours last year, and I liked it. So the fact that we could collaborate on this, and Scout and Scholar is such a good partner anyway, and a friendly neighbor to what we're doing. I'm jazzed about that. I mean, to have our own can with the Bourbon Festival wrapped on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I cannot wait to reap the ice cold fruits of your steamed hard labor.
Okay. So
we will.
We've talked
Absolutely.
about the distillers and
Cheers
everything.
to that, brother.
So the single barrel program Cheers. Yes. And I think that that's really cool that you did the brew. Yeah. Okay.
This will be on the neck of every single barrel, 7,000 of them roughly. Stacy will correct me, no doubt. She'll.
There's last year's.
But instead of the sticker,
All right. Now we're having the tag.
The stickers are a pain in the ass to deal with.
Yeah.
So the neck tag with the little QR code on the back, but every one of the official Bourbon Festival, and this is actually, I believe, one of our Bourbon Festival, maybe not. I love New Riff, so that's what I grabbed tonight. But yeah, so that you'll have that. And this year, Jeffrey, I shared with you last night, we're doing a T-shirt. So all of the single barrel distilleries will have this logo on the front, and we'll have all of them on the back of the T-shirt. So our little single barrel that I didn't know what a single barrel was 5 years ago, it's now got its own little following and a T-shirt and everything to boot.
Well,
so.
But those single barrels this year, initially, the single barrels, when you released the single barrels the first year, which I think it was like 12 or 13, and you guys went
plus the bonus Maker's Mark barrel that we did.
Yeah. And you went around and did those picks. I was on that pick in 2021 for Luca Knob Creek and the Luca Mariano, and I've got both.
We don't talk about the Luca Mariano night.
Hey, we don't have to talk, but that was fun either way. It's like it was legendary. You figured out different things to do with a thief that I've never thought of, but yeah.
Well, just to clarify for those that aren't familiar with the story, we did a doubleheader that day. We went to Wilderness Trail with Macaulay.
There you go.
And if you haven't been on a Wilderness Trail pick, it's insane.
Yeah, but you put a Wilderness Trail with Macaulay.
Well,
that takes it to another level, right?
And that was 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning. And then we had the Luca Mariano party and barrel pick at like 5 on Saturday night.
A rainy day.
And Randy was in bed at the hotel by 6.
Yeah, but we had fun.
I hadn't learned how to pace myself yet. I mean, thought it was rude to leave. If you had 12 of these from Wilderness, I thought it was rude to leave liquid in them. So I can't. That's like Spalding on Caddyshack. I went around. It was like.
Well, we all just like on that pick that I did with you for Knob Creek up at the
first ever what?
Yeah, at the offices. Remember that? Yeah, that was my first pick that I ever did.
That was amazing. I mean, Freddie shows up in the old office on a folding table, which is now where our big bar is. And Freddie shows up and he's mad because he wasn't happy with some of the stuff that the guys pulled for him. But I mean, what a cool experience to have Freddie sitting there talking us through this thing. And we had somebody from Alaska. We had we had Coombs. That was Emma, who was like my original employee. Emma, that was her last barrel pick with us before she went on to Heaven Hill to manage their single barrel program.
Which last year when we did it, Emma was Emma and
she was our host.
Bernie Lovers went on that pick. Yeah, she's the nephew, the niece of Tully, right?
Tawny.
Yeah, Tawny.
So this is where it all started. This was the very first barrel pick we ever did. It has Denny and Jean signed on it.
Wow.
So this was the one. I told Bill Samuels what we were going to do with this Bourbon Festival during the COVID year. And he is famous for going down to Bardstown, the mayor and the county judge, and David Mandel, Kim Houston, and he kicked them in the ass. He said, "You guys are calling yourself the bourbon capital of the world. Well, by God, you better start acting like it and looking like it, because you don't." And he lit a fire. And so the fast forward a couple of years, and I come in, and during the COVID year, we did the virtual Bourbon Festival, and we had Rob and Bill and Kyle and Wes Henderson on a virtual, and I escorted Rob and Bill from the parking lot down into Bardstown Bourbon Company, into the Pete's place where we did their segment. And I had 3 minutes of an elevator speech to tell them what we're going to do with this Bourbon Festival. And the next day, Thomas Bolton calls me and he said, quote unquote, I don't know what the hell you told the old man, but he's so excited. He's donating a barrel for you. I'm like, well, what the hell am I going to do with a barrel of bourbon? He's like, well, we bottle it and put your name on it and you sell it for a fundraiser. I didn't know what a single barrel was. So this is it. This is the absolute number 1,001 of all of our, and now we're up over 80, I think.
Yeah.
That's
So
hey, that's got
Stacy's
the bourbon capital of the world.
Stacy's been on all 45 of them. So
That's got
crazy.
the bourbon capital of the world on it. I've got one of those bottles.
yeah, buddy.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I've got
And
it.
they-
And I'm,
And they
Yeah,
actually
we
printed this.
bought that bottle.
that-
Super
yeah,
Nash.
and that ornament I actually hang on my bourbon tree ornament
It's
tree.
it's
That
Yeah,
was,
I've got
that was
that.
the first blend, and Maker's Mark did. They produced these as a hanger,
Yeah,
and we sold and we made $10,000 off that kind donation, and they were actually the first one as the featured distillery. So we had 34 distilleries. We elevated Makers. The next year we had 48 distilleries, and we elevated Beam, Knob Creek. Last year we had 52 distilleries, and we elevated Bardstown Bourbon Company. This year we've got 63, and we're elevating Heaven Hill Elijah Craig with their barrel pick. And next year, I believe it's Four Roses. So we take this very competitive market and we elevate one distillery. And how they get to be that is they donate a barrel that we can bottle and do something good as a fundraiser for us. So,
awesome.
so the single barrel program is just such a
Just
an amazing experience. So we get to sit and select these barrels, and then the distilleries sell them for us. You know,
that is just
well,
amazing.
but you know, it's like, and then you know, last year that was the first year the distilleries sold them, but you know, they didn't really know what was going to happen, and they sold a lot of their own brands, like you said. What happened with the Legacy bottle with Jim Beam? You know, they had and then they also had Booker's. They had Little Book, and they had Baker's 13. So they had 4 bottles. Plus, then you've got their barrel pick that they can sell. And now that they're all selling them out, you know, when you even think about it, you could.
Why that happened, Jeffrey?
Mhm.
So last year it was Freddie's birthday. Fred and Freddie were sitting there in front of the Beam tent carving ham.
Yep.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm just trying to paint a picture for the people that haven't been there. The kind of interaction. You're walking up on this Jim Beam tent, and here's Fred and Freddie sitting in rocking chairs, cutting ham and giving it to people and talking to them, signing bottles. But they all didn't figure it out. So 1 or 2 made it. The other distilleries heard what the sales were, so they're on. So this year, even more are doing it. You know, Michter's, case in point, Michter's wanted to do it, but they didn't think they could. They didn't think so. This year, Michter's is selling. So I think probably, and Stacy's probably screaming at the screen, but of the 63, not counting the single barrel partners who are all selling, obviously, I think there's probably another 4 or 5 that we didn't do a single barrel with that are also going to be selling bottles. And so if you think about 50 of the 63 distilleries will be selling, and maybe all of them are, but I mean, I know there's a few that aren't and can't and haven't figured it out. 1792, we did a bottle in bond with Ross and Danny a week or 2 ago. They will be selling these 1792 bottles there. So, I mean, just think about it. You guys are super fans of these distilleries to be able to go in and buy an exclusive.
Well,
ABFs.
but you even think
The fact they want to put our name on it is an honor.
well,
you know?
but you can
Absolutely.
even take it further. Let's just say, as you guys this year, it's 45, right? 45 single barrel picks, and they're going to be there. But it's not like if they don't sell out, and I'm not saying they will or won't, but if they don't,
Well, some will in 5 minutes.
yeah, but they can
Yeah.
but
have a couple cases.
right, but they could take it back to their gift shop, or in the future, I wouldn't even be surprised, because I really think the Kentucky Bourbon Festival pick team that you guys put together, the people that are going with what Stacy puts together between the different podcasts, the different media people, the people, they're all bourbon lovers. And you're talking about Steve Coombs, you're talking about the master distillers it was great to be able to pick with Greg Schneider on the chicken cockpit with Steve, Lisa Roper Wicker, Stacy, myself, CT. I mean, it was just insane. The pick team. And so you're picking, and it's funny because this is the premier festival. This is where, just say somebody comes and they get a barrel pick from the Kentucky Bourbon Festival and they go, holy crap, that's really, really good. And then they're going to be like, I want to pick a barrel there. And so it makes sense that the distilleries roll out their premier barrels for you to pick, because this is where they can showcase their programs. And I mean, I've always gotten it, what can happen.
Jeffrey, I mean, we have Brent Elliott. Brent doesn't do these all the time. I forget that. But Brent Elliott sees our name on the calendar for a barrel pick. He's there. Freddie takes time to come out. Greg doesn't do as many barrel picks as he would like. And then you start going through Chris Morris, he's on our board, by the way. Brown Foreman, this is so huge. Brown Foreman pulled out of the festival in 2015, 2016 for the obvious reason. We were not producing the event they needed. So now they're back. This is the third year. Chris is back on our board, which, it's crazy. But to go to a barrel pick and to sit there and have the master distiller taking time to have Danny Kahn and Ross at that 1792. And I'm making good on something that happened years ago before Danny was promoted to, Buffalo Trace. He was mad at us because we didn't include him in a barrel pick a couple years ago. So this last year was a make good. So we have master distillers that want to be a part of the Bourbon Festival single barrel program. And it's just, again, humbling. It's just,
well, and I will say,
you guys saw it first year. You guys saw it 2019, and you saw you heard what I was trying to build, and the vision team, and to see it coming together. I mean, this
is coming to fruition now. It's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
it's the team. It absolutely, and the community's rallying behind us finally, and board members have always said, stay the course, Randy. It's going to be ugly, and when we do this initial change, stay the course. Bill Samuels would call Rob Samuel, stay the course. It's going to get rough. It's ugly. I know you're getting beat up. I was a pinata for that first summer.
I remember.
I posted a picture of Spalding Hall in the green grass. Like, in 30 days, I can't wait to see y'all. I posted it.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh my gosh, the firestorm that came out of that stupid little innocent post.
That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I had a blast.
I
I was just blasting everybody that was blasting the festival. Yeah. I mean, but honestly, Randy,
just wait.
So this year, this is the first year that you could say that COVID doesn't have a say at all. Everybody's kind of back when it comes to festivals and everything. Nobody's worried about it. Everybody knows that it's evolved into a cold, whatever. And so you don't got that looming over you at all. You know what I mean? So everybody's going to this festival. Plus, then you've got the local aspect of it won over, or you've stayed the course, like you said, and then now you're getting some local support, for it. You've always had local support. It was just the select few people who want, you're always going to get that.
There is a case in point, and I told this story at lunch today. Donald Blinko from Busick, that makes all the big rick houses.
Yeah.
At lunch, he's my board treasurer, going through the financials, and he was talking about how the locals have settled down. And I said, I remember years ago, I'm sitting at the bar, Scout and Scholar, watching a baseball game by myself, drinking a beer, and the bartender said, "Hey, Randy, how's the festival planning going?" I'm like, "Oh, I knew that." The guy next to me, I could hear his head going. He's like, "So you're the guy?" I'm like, "I'm the guy." And I fast forward through. I said, "What do you do?" "I own this business." "How long you been here?" 22 years. I said, during your time of successful business, have you ever had to change your plan based on what your customers are telling you? Because I do it every quarter and every month. And I said, that's what we're doing. And the light bulb went off. So 6 months later, I saw him at Mr. Tubbs, the little cocktail bar that we've all been to.
Yep.
I walked over and he's at the bar and he leans back and goes, "Hey, Randy, come here." He goes, "I am your number one advocate. I'm telling all these morons what you're doing and why you're doing it." And it was super cool. So I told Donald this story today at lunch. Well, tonight I'm at Mr. Tubbs doing a couple meetings. He comes in, the same guy. And I said,
well,
I tell your story all the time because one by one, we will win the local community by being successful. And I said, you have lifetime passes to the Bourbon Festival, not only for what you do, but for allowing me to tell the story of that night when you kind of like the light bulb went off and you're a smart business person and you get it. And every year, more and more of the people who really matter get it. The business owners get it. The bourbon enthusiasts get it. And everybody else is going to, the haters going to hate, right? Isn't that what they say?
Yeah.
Yep,
They're no longer the people we're trying to convert.
But
People that know what we do and why we do it get it.
Well, so, you even think
Aaron Harris is in the house.
Yes. Hey, Aaron. And that I wanted to say that. So me and you were young, but when Summerfest in Milwaukee started, it was similar to exactly what Kentucky Bourbon Festival was forever, where there was a bunch of beer tents. They got some names in and people went, and then it just kept evolving and evolving and evolving. And now if you go to Summerfest, there's permanent structures. There's, you know what I mean? Same thing with whatever. And you've evolved it. But what I think this is what's great about it and why people keep coming back year after year, where you don't lose a lot of people, is because I can't wait to go see Aaron Harris at Aaron is such a great guy. He's out there in Owensboro, Kentucky, which no matter when you go out to see him, it's a drive, for especially people in Ohio, but it's well worth it. I mean, Green River's doing some great things, but you get to see people that you don't always get because they're all there. Now, I find that a lot of times what's sad is that you didn't get to there's not enough time to see everybody. But even the people coming back from Wisconsin or these groups that come down, you see them there. So it's like I said, it's a big, huge reunion amongst the bourbon community. But the bourbon community, why I'm in this is because they're awesome. They think alike. They love life. They love having fun, but they're responsible and they work hard, and that's kind of the base of what we deal with.
That is the industry. So the enthusiast and the industry match that, right? We're sociable. We love turning people on to what we love. And the distillery side of things that compete for every little inch on a shelf, you take the marketing people out of it and the legal teams that these guys all have to have. The people that are making the whiskey, they just love sitting back and drinking each other's stuff and enjoying it and talking and telling stories.
That's what
this whole festival is about. It's not just showing the whiskey and the people who make it, but also how those people interact. So I put a Greg Snyder on a stage with Denny Potter, or Chris Morris on with Conor O'Driscoll, and all these different things. They compete. They should hate each other, right? No, they don't. They love each other of what they do, and that's kind of the spirit of what we're presenting here.
Well, even David Mandel, okay, that man is. What he did with Bardstown Bourbon Company, and now he's at Kentucky, the Whiskey House of Kentucky. It's like that. He exists on a level financially than most, not a lot of, but he will search you out and talk to you. And he's at the same level as everybody else. And that's something that I love about this industry, whether, you got Fred and Freddie. No, I mean, their family that 7th and 8th generation making whiskey. These people are part of history, but they're people.
They will invite you to their kitchen table.
Yep. That's right.
And sit in the living room and tell stories, and they become friends. And you exchange Christmas cards with them. And if somebody in one of the families passes away, you send flowers. I mean, it's just it becomes that really close knit family, and I love that.
And that's
Yeah.
something you don't
And
find
No other,
that.
no other industry
Nope.
is like what.
Then
Yeah.
and then it
I've
then
never found that anywhere else that I've been, and I've traveled all across the states, and
That's right.
and business and pleasure.
so
and never ever found
so
that,
then you
that
take Randy
close knit community
who
with
comes
anybody.
in with that close knit community, and then
Yeah.
he turns it into still the essence. You haven't eliminated the essence of bourbon and all that, and it's still everybody getting together and seeing each other. But then you put it in an NFL package. All that's left is just to have that whole weekend. Kind of like Hall of Fame weekend. You just have it all on TV, like the Derby.
But I can't do it with, and you mentioned the Derby, and I always tell the story, and all the stuff that happens about Derby, the sponsorships and the tickets and all the fancy hats and all, it doesn't matter if you don't have the 20 horses in the starting gate. And in our case, the 20 horses are the distilleries, and we never lose focus of that. And but I love the fact that they love. And when we closed at 6 instead of staying up like till 10, I told them, I said, the reason we're doing it at 6 is so you can do your thing and get people back. So Bardstown Bourbon Company does their Friday night thing. Fred and Sandy are hosting this Legends thing at their house. Heaven Hill is bringing back an event. Preservation is looking at Kitchen Table, Jim Beam. They do a special event out there on some years. So the distilleries are taking that chance. I don't want to monopolize. I don't want people staying at our place till 10, 11 o'clock at night. That's when you get into those problems. Give them a cool, unique experience they can't get anywhere else. Let them go home, the hotel, shower, freshen up, and then go out and enjoy the distilleries again. But out there, not
or the
here.
bars. Like you just want to pass the problems off to the Volstead.
No.
I'm kidding. I'm just kidding completely. That is a great place to go afterwards.
But it is not about getting people off our grounds and someone else's problem. I mean, we want to hand off our guests into Bardstown and the surrounding area.
Well, I think also,
we have 8 hotels in downtown Louisville that are partnering with us. So people stay in Louisville. They have free shuttles all day back and forth, and those they can go home into Louisville and have that experience. Whiskey Row,
which is huge.
Company and Buzzard's Roost, and what Michter's is doing, and all up and down Evan Williams experience. It's just so cool that we can give them an experience. And I learned this from Denver, Colorado, 25 years ago. Taste the Colorado Labor Day weekend. This festival would bring people in, and they would actually close the main stage down, and people would leave the festival grounds and go out into Denver. And then at 7 o'clock at night, they'd reopen, put the stage up, and the music come on, and the food's going. You can breathe people in and out of that community without monopolizing them. And that was kind of my inspiration for what we do at the festival. Unlimited, come and go. Come in right away, go out and do tours, go eat, go shop, come back in, leave again, come back. We never want to have those where people are in the festival and, sorry, no re-entries, you're here. We want to share our guests with the community.
This is another cool thing that I found out too with talking with the people last year is that when some of the people, when they leave the festival, they do go back to the hotels and all that, and they actually get together at the hotels, and they actually have their own little get-togethers and meet other people from all over the states that come there and have their own little bottle shares and parties there at the hotels.
Oh my God. I'm laughing because I got sucked into the St. Louis Bourbon Society does that at the Fairfield in Bardstown. I walked in dead ass tired one night, like not even wanting to make eye contact. I wanted to take a shower and go to bed. And I walk in and there's this woo, and next thing you know, it's 2.5 hours later. But they had 50 bottles, glassware, and there was this party, and what a camaraderie. I mean, you're right.
Yes.
It's pretty cool to see all that.
Well, last year the young distillers, the people, they got together at the Bardstown Motor Lodge, and had a
Yep.
bottle share that the next, I think it was Sunday morning, they were worse
Yeah.
worse to wear. Yeah, that they said that went to like 4. So yeah, that's just part of it. It's just kind of there's a lot of fun that happens, and you know, I just think that I think the last thing I want to say is last year, the town itself, I didn't get the feeling quite that they were getting everything because of the 6 o'clock and whatever. But I'm thinking this year they pretty much are ready for when you release everybody out into the
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I,
and we talk all year round, the Chamber of Commerce and the downtown Main Street program. Like a lot of the retailers are staying open later. They know it's like Black Friday in a traditional retail setting.
there
They
you
know
go.
there's a big opportunity, and our consumers are very good consumers, not outside of the bourbon industry. They're good
Mhm.
restaurateurs, foodies. They love shopping. They love taking home souvenirs and little pieces of Kentucky with them. So,
Yep.
but it's taken a while. I mean, there are times that the downtown merchants, and again, fill in the blank, any town USA, some the downtown merchants are a little different class of people, are wired differently. So
Yeah.
there are people. Bardstown has picked up to where February used to kind of be slow, and now it's busy every single weekend. So the merchants are figuring it out. But for sure, during Bourbon Festival weekend, I've been telling them stock up on your inventory, make sure you got staffing, button it up because they're coming. We're going to send them to you. That's all you have to do. We don't want your money. We're not trying to get you to be a sponsor. We want you to take care of our shared guests. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I
it's
mean,
taken a few years.
I mean,
It's there.
last year, I think Scout and Scholar, it was like 9 o'clock, and I thought, whatever, but they were in shutdown mode. But I think this year they got the feel for what people are wanting to do. You know what I mean? I think that's another thing. Plus, you always had the competing, that competing what would you say, push against the festival, like they still wanted that little separate thing, and I think this year
Well, I
it's
mean,
it's gone away.
to be fair, this festival was free for so many years that people would just kind of descend on Bardstown, and we wanted to make sure that they weren't turned away from any kind of festivity. So the first year, the Cheers to Bardstown started off as the alternative. It got spun incorrectly, and I quite frankly misunderstood it. They weren't trying to compete; they're trying to offer a fallback to make sure people got something. So now it's evolved into the local folks have a. And I went up last year. I walked up there and had a beer and listened to the band, and I had a really good time. I think it's cool when a town can figure out different ways to celebrate and welcome visitors and make
Yeah,
sure that
yeah.
the local residents have a way to engage in the fun.
Mhm.
In some way, we took away that fun. I mean, I get that. I'm never ignorant to the fact that we took a lot of people's annual party away, right?
Yeah.
We had to. I mean, we were bankrupt. The festival was going to die. And so we changed that. So I love the fact that there's still something, a way the local, the barrel relay on Saturday morning is still very local. The food trucks are on purpose left into the open so the community can come out and have some fun. And the Cheers to Bardstown are put on by friends of ours, and we collaborate and cross promote. And so I just love it. I think it's cool when you can see a town have all these different things going on, and it really showcases it to everybody and takes the sting out of it for
Well,
the locals.
but then you look at what, that secondary thing that this festival has evolved Bardstown into. Yes, Bardstown was the bourbon capital of the world, right? But at the same time now with this festival and people discovering, you've got more people investing into the local community, like for instance, circa 1856, I think it is, which is the chicken cock tasting room
Yeah.
specifically for
Tasting room,
tasting.
the old Harrison Smith House, yeah.
Yeah, so you've got like the distilleries now wanting to have that experience right there in the square and downtown. You've always had Talbots and everything, but it's making the city, like the festival is now spreading out into the actual city, and there's money that's being put into the city to make sure that when people come, they're used to, it's going to be more bourbon related. I think that's really cool.
I mean, it's the whole industry. There's 10 core distilleries in Nelson County. They're all part of the Bourbon Capital Alliance. There's a year-round effort to elevate awareness and education and of these distilleries. So, I mean, as cool as it is to think that a 3 or 4 day bourbon festival might be driving this stuff, it is absolutely a shared
Everything.
thing, right?
Yeah.
The bourbon festival wouldn't be successful without a thriving
yes.
industry. And the industry is kind of collected by this organization that elevates everybody and educates people year round. So we benefit from it. We help them, and we're finally figuring out how to be the bourbon capital of the world. It's taken a few
Yes.
years, but when I first came in to Bardstown, first time in, there was zero anything that told me I'm entering Bardstown, the bourbon capital of the world. I mean, the water towers are not, everything's branded, street, the barrels and the flags and the signs and the welcome to. But 5 years ago, that wasn't happening. So it's been a concerted effort for everybody to elevate what we're doing in Bardstown.
Well, also, but just
That's
remember,
just one little piece. I mean, people might time their visit to Bardstown or to Kentucky, because we know people come in and they do the Bourbon Trail, and then they come to the festival, and then they go home, or they come in for the festival and then stay on for a day or two and go do some distillery tours. So it's a 10-day swing. It's the Monday before the Bourbon Festival and the Wednesday, Thursday after. So we have a 10-day impact window. They might come any other time, but they're coming now because the Bourbon Festival's there. So I mean, it's all part of that piece. But it's huge dollars, when you think about it. If we moved in November, I'm sure the distilleries would see some kind of a spike in visitation during November because the festival is there. So I mean, regardless of where we are, we're part of that landscape that drives people here. So
Yeah, I'm sure it's a big economic impact to the area.
But I think, Randy, what you've added in, and I know that the distilleries, in some cases, like for instance, Jim Beam, they partnered with, and same thing, Evan Williams with Major League Baseball and everything like that. They have those experiences, but what you did was prove in a setting like that, if you present it right to people, they can make a decent amount of money selling their stuff. And that's something that that's not how the festival worked at all before. Before, it was just kind of everybody getting together, and you sampled some stuff, and you went to the events. The events were off-site, and they were not anything to do with it. You know what I mean? So what you've evolved it to, I really, it just makes me want to keep coming down there as much as I possibly can. And you guys have a presence year round, really, with the
and thank you for that. But the bigger picture is the Kentucky Distillers Association and our shared legal counsel rewrote legislation that got approved that allowed the distilleries to do what they're doing, and allowed me to offer this as an extension of their main property. So, I mean, I can exploit the law. I know how to take the law and make sure these distilleries are taking full advantage of that. But again, all these moving parts, the Bourbon Festival didn't just change and become this. It changed as a result of the industry pushing legislation that allowed us to be able to, so I mean, there's so many moving parts and so many different layers that if the laws of 2019 were still in place today, this festival would be either gone or certainly drastically different. You used to have to go to offsite venues to actually have spirits, as opposed to now it's here, and then you can go to the distillery.
Well, the tasting was the gala, and that was offsite, and that's where everybody was. That's where Brown and Foreman was, and that's where they all had their little areas, and you would taste throughout the night, and But now the tasting is all through the weekend.
But that is obsoleted because the laws have finally gotten modernized. The Justin's House of Bourbon model from 21 and 22 that's been obsoleted. We love Justin's, but the laws have changed to where the distilleries are selling directly. So why do you need to have the bottle shop there? So, I mean, there's so many things that have gone on with the legal advancements of Kentucky, and there's still some glitches and weird things that are preventing other distilleries from doing what they'd like to do. But compared to where we were 5 years ago, we just know how to take that and make the most of it. So, I mean, and that's Stacy researching. It's Greg and the other distilleries pushing us to say legally we can do this. So we need to sit back and say, well, yes, you can legally do it, but now how does that affect? We always have a level playing field. I had lunch with Mark Irwin from Bardstown Bourbon Company on Monday, and I said, I have every confidence that I can look you in the eyes and tell you that your package with Bardstown is the same as Beam and Four Roses and Heaven Hill. And we work really carefully to make sure that we're, creating this nice fair. There's no under the table deals. And
yeah, definitely. You're definitely not a guy that does, you're an above ground person. There's no doubt about it.
But you have to. This industry is so small and incestuous that so and so leaves this distillery and goes over here, and this person that used to be the finance person that is over here, and so you can never try to fool someone. It'll always come back to you, and that's not the way I operate anyway.
Well, right. You have taken everything above ground, and that's what you got to do to make a successful thing that you don't want torn down based off of what you just talked about. That because that's the kind of stuff that gets everything torn down, and you don't want building something like this. You don't want it to get torn down. So,
well, and I will tell you, the ABC, the state, the commission, they're not in the business of handing out compliments or being friendly. They're enforcement, right? Rules and regulations and enforcement and fines and penalties. Last year, they told us that we were the gold standard for alcohol, spirits related festivals in Kentucky. And if anybody comes to them trying to start a new festival or an event, that they would direct them to us. And I'm very proud of that. And we work the hours
as you should be.
The hours that Stacy and I have invested in this evergreen tent bottle shop just to make sure we had 7 or 8 of our important distilleries able to be there legally and be a part of the festival. I mean, we'll never be made whole financially for the investment we've made, but we've given it our best effort to make sure that everyone who wants to be in part of this festival can legally do it. And again, the net result is when the distilleries are happy and profitable, and the guests, you, me, the people that come through those front gates are the winners. So it works. It works.
All right. So let's finish
One
up.
thing that I do want to leave everybody with or leave you with, one of the last questions as I went around and I asked, and it was a 2-part question. It was the final question I asked everybody that I interviewed.
Okay.
Will you come back to the festival, and will you tell somebody about it? Every person I asked that last year, that both answers were yes and yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was one thing when we made the video. That's one thing. Yes, there was couples,
that was from
yeah,
the newcomers to the people that had been there several times over. Yeah.
Well, and you all lived the nightmare of 2021 with me, right?
Yes, sir.
It was so hard to get that event off, and we dropped the ball on a few things. And I remember going into the new Great Tent concept, and our scanners weren't working, and people. So I was working the line. People were mad. I'm handing out my business card saying, "This is me." And the next year we made it right. We offered complimentary tickets to make good for what. And every single one of those people, and 2 of them came up to me and they said, "You don't remember me, do you?" I'm like, He's like, "I'm the guy that chewed your ass out last year for what a screw up, blah, 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 blah." And he said, "Man, you listened to us. You took care of us." He gave me a bro hug and said, "That's how you take care of customers." And I was so beat up and battered that first year or so. But when people come up to me and said, "The festival was okay, but you really tripped up on this stuff. This year is amazing." keep it up. I mean, that makes it all worthwhile. All the long days and the, when people come up to me and realize that we really do care for them and want them to have this experience that they can be, happy about being a part of it and bring their friends. I mean, we kill ourselves. And I hope everyone watching knows that we kill ourselves to bring this experience to you, and I do it happily.
It's a year-round
Yes.
job for
Yes,
you.
he
There's no
does.
doubt. And then also, that I felt so bad for you because 2020, that was the virtual year, and you did really good as far as the productions and everything. But then we come along 2021, set up really good, but it just wasn't fair because that problem with the tickets happened instantly as people were walking through the door. So
Real time.
to start your day and the festival was a ticket disaster for that had nothing to do. You guys had it set up. It should have worked. It didn't. But then you worked your ass off to make it right with everybody you possibly could. And that's part of, you get that out of the festival. You don't have control over everything. You can't control it all, but you can fix what you can fix.
I'm getting PTSD, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I know. I saw that.
We opened the gates at Friday at 10 a.m. and I had my Churchill Downs crew that knew what they're doing, and the scanners weren't working and all that. And I literally jumped behind a tent and got on this toll-free number trying to get help from our ticketing people, and there was no help. There was no helpline. My buddy that I did brew festivals with in Wisconsin was on the live chat on his computer with me on the phone, and it was this nightmare. I was like, this is not how I wanted to start this event. But we've rebounded, and I've picked better partners, and it's real time now. So if something happens, we fix it now. We don't wait till next year. But I appreciate you guys. You guys are my brothers. You were there, and you felt my pain. You helped when you could. You bought me a beer at Scout and Scholar when I was sitting there all by myself one night.
Yeah.
It gets to be a very lonely, isolated little situation. I'm throwing the best party in town, and here I am over in the corner, just like not wanting to talk to people, and you guys cheer me up. So
Well, you were throwing the best party in town,
we love
trying
you,
to get
man.
allowing people to come in, and you did. Everybody got in. I mean, they did. It wasn't at one point. Kate just jumped in and started helping, and you were just like, okay, yeah, I see it. Go. It's so.
I grabbed a scanner. I mean, I'm scanning people and trying to get people in the door, And my problem is the PTSD came from Churchill Downs. My first year at Derby, we had the same problem happen. We had 90 minutes waits for people to get into Churchill Downs, and when it happened here, albeit a smaller scale, it was like, oh my God, this is happening all over again. It should not take more than 5 minutes to get someone in this festival. Why is it taking 45 minutes? But it's the stuff that when people say, what do you do the rest of the year? The festival's over. What do you do? That's what we do. We improve those processes, and we select stronger partners, and we take a look at what we did right and what we could have done better. And we constantly internally evaluate what we're doing. And it's just, you have to always want to be better. Otherwise you won't be.
Well, I'll give everybody an example. Initially, when people with the barrel picks, there was a line for that first year for Justin's House of Bourbon that lasted all freaking day. But bourbon people are used to. That's the one thing you got going for you, Randy. We love lines. You know what I mean? We're used to waiting in lines. Yeah. But what I'll say is, you've eliminated the lines with how you've set this up. There's going to be a couple little small lines at the places people want to go, but when you've got
last year,
as she said, 45 barrels from 36 different distilleries, that's a spread out right there. People, yes, there's going to be a couple distilleries
these lines last year.
This year's program, the magazine, it has a map festival. It has specifics on where distilleries are. We have barrel icons next to the ones that are doing single barrels, and we have a special section that is all the expert tasting notes that Steve Coombs did, so people can figure out Like the three of us are standing in line. Jeffrey, you're heading to Heaven Hill to get the Elijah Craig. Nash, you're going to Four Roses. I'm going to run over to, Maker's Mark. I'm going on down to Peerless. You can game plan a little better and divide and get with only lines of 10 or 15 people most times.
Yeah,
spread out.
but not only do you have the 45 different
That's
barrels.
how we did it last year.
But then you throw
We
in
were working with our wives and all that last year.
You throw in
as were other people with their others.
But you're gonna
it was so much fun.
Yes. I watched people to that VIP gate come in and scatter.
Yeah.
So cool
it was so cool.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. Divide and conquer, man.
So
exactly, divide and conquer. Let's have fun.
Let's finish up. So
it's the third time, Jeffrey. You've said
I've tried to finish up. It's so much fun talking to you, Randy.
Jeffrey, I told you
it is.
20 minutes. I had 20 minutes.
Yeah,
I think we're on freaking an hour and a half.
Yeah, we are. We're up there, man. Anyways,
I can't. We're just hanging out. I forget we're actually broadcasting. So,
but that's fine. But what I want to say is, everybody. One of the cool things when you walk into the festival, depending on you've got different VIP packages that everybody can pick up. You've got this year the one package is what's the top package? What was it? A
Decanter Club?
Yeah, the Decanter Club, which I'm wearing last year's Decanter Club. I was proud to be a part of that. That was phenomenal, having the decanter and the glasses. And then there's the other, there's the VIP with the Flask Force, right? There's a Flask Force one.
Flask Force.
And then
there's the basic original OG Flask Force, which is a copper flask. And then there's Flask Force Gold, where you get a 24 karat gold plated flask. And
then you have the general VIP, right? But everybody gets the, there, and then there's all the merchandise. But now, and then when you walk in, you get a mini Glen, right? For your tasting, or is
everybody gets a mini Glen? All the VIPs that you just talked about get the traveler kit with the 2 glasses in it, Glencairn. So you open it up so you can, standard.
That's the mini Glens that we got last year. And last year they had individual distilleries on the back of them.
That's right.
One of the cool things walking out is that
one of my biggest nightmares, by the way, too, Nash.
Having to get all the different distilleries loaded.
No, we had 9 distilleries at the top level, and each of them got 1,000 glasses with their logo on it.
Yeah.
We had a Rabbit Hole and you had Beam and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The idea was you're supposed to just randomly grab one and like, oh, hey, I got a Maker's Mark. I got a Jim Beam. Want to trade? And it didn't work out as smoothly as that. But,
well, what was cool at the end of last year's festival, you were like, what were you doing? You were dispersing inventory from the years before, which was kind of cool. That
gotta go. It's a fire sale. Gotta go. You get a free bike.
Yeah.
TV Lenny, remember him, Jeffrey?
Yep.
Every piece of furniture, you get a 10-speed bike. That's what
TV Lenny. Yep. Yeah, that was a different time period, right? My dad bought his first VCR.
One thing from Aaron, he said, anything we can do at GR to help support the cause, please let them know. You rock.
You being there, Aaron, and the team is it. I mean, I try to create the forum for you guys to shine, and that's nothing more, nothing less. We're a 3-day bourbon festival, and we just want to make sure we, let every distillery shine. What you can do for me, Aaron, and pass the word is bring your A+ game, like up it, because now we have our guests are voting on People's Choice. Canton Cooperage out in Lebanon. They're doing barrel heads for single barrel, small batch, and craft. So whoever the People's Choice Awards for those different categories, win that. And we really want to kind of plateau and stop growing the number of distilleries, and now work with the distilleries we have to really shine and bring it. So.
So when you say that, are you going to have like voting barrels? Is that going to be something that the people that are attending are going to vote on? Yes. So are you going to have like voting barrels for each?
Well, we're not 100% sure, but Seth Thompson does Bourbon Classic in February here in Louisville, and they did something. So we're actually working with them. I think it's like Survey Monkey or whatever. But we are going to be promoting that. There might be QR codes at each distillery that you scan. If this is my favorite, we're scanning that, and then
there you go.
We'll tabulate on Sunday afternoon and announce. We want to make sure that Sunday only, the Sunday sampler people have a chance. So we'll probably cut it off at like 2:00 in the afternoon, so people have a couple hours on Sunday to also vote. But then we'll make the announcements. And Canton Cooperage, I mean, their oak barrels are works of art. I mean, it's furniture grade oak. It's sanded, so I'm so excited to have them on board. They just signed up for another 3 years of partnerships with us, and
they originally came from Canton, Ohio, where I live.
So I mentioned Canton. See this little 1 inch by 1 inch?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Canton Cooperage donated 800 of these, and what that has become is 800 of our new Kentucky Bourbon Festival pens.
Cool.
Wow.
The official pen writing instrument of the Bourbon Festival. The 600 bourbon enthusiasts that we talked about, the VIPs, will get that in a special case.
That's cool.
Limited edition of 800. This is number 007 because I am 007, James Bond. This is my pen. Highly collectible. MSRP about $90 a piece. We got the little America on the end.
Ooh,
awesome!
So it's a great writing instrument, but it started off with Kentucky oak, Canton Cooperage, and it ends up with this fine writing instrument. So, and I've got one for you guys, of course.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Randy.
Don't sell them on eBay. I know how many there are.
We don't sell anything. Look at behind me. I mean, for God's sakes,
Absolutely not.
Nothing's sold on eBay. But let's
look.
All right, let's
my side. Look right there.
Yeah, you got yours there too. So just know, Randy, for the people that have been interested in,
that was so cool.
You
when
killed
I saw
me
that.
on that one. That's awesome. That is an awesome barrelhead.
Yeah, it was.
It's the only one in existence. I'm going to auction it off, I think.
There you go. I don't know. That one's worth keeping, especially this year.
It's the prototype, so
I think what you should do is have that one person sign it if he wins.
What I want to do.
There you go.
I've got that. Later, Rosen. My next project is going to be have a Funko Pop bobblehead.
A Deadpool.
The Bourbon Festival. Not me, but something bourbon related.
You can get you can just go and get bobbleheads of yourself. There's a company that will actually do it from a picture.
I know. That's I don't like the real, let alone a big head.
Yep. All right.
Anyway, so I love you guys.
Talk about
you too,
the last thing is tell everybody how they can get the final tickets if they stayed this. Tell them where to go. Tell them.
Yes.
Do the promo. Sleep now. kybourbonfestival.com. I think we're down to under 100 tickets left. So get there. If you can't get a ticket, sign up to be a Bourbon Insider, which gives you access next April when we go on sale, and when all the fun begins is really before we even start selling it to the public. So but thank you for everyone watching, listening. We love you. I know a few of you that are watching. I hope I didn't put everyone to sleep, but
no.
And 5 minutes after we started this thing, my doorbell was ringing. The pizza guy was bringing my pizza. So I'm assuming it's upstairs. So.
You should have just started. You should have had Kate just bring it down and just eat it.
I hope 00 Kate saved you some.
Yeah, I think so. I told her to stop in and pop in and say hi, but she did not bring any pizza. So
yep.
All right. She came down and popped in behind you there.
I know. This is my life. Yesterday I had breakfast at 2:30 in the afternoon. And lunch maybe at 6 something, so I don't think I really got 3 squares. Now today I had a salad at 11:30, and now I'm eating pizza at 10:30 at night.
10:30. Oh my gosh.
The life we live. 36 days till we open. 27 days until we start building. It takes us 8 days to build this thing now. 4 days just to build the double decker, and then 4 days to get rid of it afterwards. So October 1st has never looked so good.
Well,
I'm actually
for us, we'll be there. I believe on Wednesday we're scheduled to be in there for distillery setup day,
no
or Tuesday. Tuesday, that's right. Tuesday.
Wednesday's the bus tour.
Bus tour, that's right.
So
We love you for that too. Thank you. And Stacy,
Our pleasure. Our pleasure.
I wouldn't miss it. I think it's almost as fun as the festival.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a blast last year.
well, it is fun. I mean, to see kind of behind the scenes stuff. Not everyone sees that, and but couldn't do it without you. I mentioned the volunteers earlier. I know
Yeah.
your media, and I know your ticketed customers, and thank you for that. But the volunteer part, and there's a lot of camaraderie and
Yeah. And
really
met
does
a lot
take
of good people helping out last year too. And want to reiterate that this year, anybody in and around Bardstown, starting on Monday or Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Tuesday, Wednesdays, distilleries, and Thursday is when our marketplace people come in. But we start building the day after Labor Day, and it just takes us that long to get it ready for you all to come in. But
Yeah.
and I mean it. We have volunteers that sign up. They work a day. I give them a ticket to the festival. So it is absolutely give us a couple hours of your volunteer time, and we'll make sure you come in and have a great time.
So anybody that wants to volunteer, who do they need to get in touch with, and how do they do that to come on down?
Well, assuming it's a small group here,
Yeah.
we have a new volunteer coordinator, because it's a full-time job to coordinate and build this. So
Yes.
if you can email volunteers at kybourbonfestival.com, Karen is the young lady on the other end of that email that will see that. She is coordinating things through Sign Up Genius, and there's a whole rigmarole on how you can sign up for different shifts and stuff. But if you just email volunteers at kybourbonfestival.com, you will get the golden ticket on how you can come help us build this and also enjoy it once it's up.
All right,
There you go.
There we go, everybody.
So now you know how to get in free to the Kentucky Bourbon Festival.
Absolutely.
For a little bit of work and help, and have some fun doing it.
That's how I started my festival career in 1987. I volunteered to set up a stage and help take gear off of band gear off of a band, and next thing you know, I made a career out of it. So volunteer, you never know, you might end up being me, which is
All right.
you may not want that.
All right.
That's where I started.
www.scotchybourbonboys.com for all things Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and X, and then all the major podcast formats, mainly Apple, iHeart, Spotify, and anything else that you listen on. But remember, thank you, Randy and Super Nash, that good times and good friends equal good bourbon equals good times and good friends. Don't drink and drive. Drink responsibly and live your life adventurously. And little Steve-O is going to take us out.
All right. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in to Facebook and YouTube.
Hey, Randy, remember, we're going to be Facebook Live and YouTube when this is over. We'll still be live.
I'm not talking about with the prison.
Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. For if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die.
Great podcast, you guys.
Sure was.
What's in your glass, Nash? What are you drinking?
Gonna make Jeff jealous.
No, you're not.
Oh, dude, Old Carter.
Old Carter batch 7.
Yeah, that doesn't make me jealous. If 9 was in there, that would make me jealous.
What are you drinking?
What was I drinking? I had the chicken cock, and then I had a little bit of that barrel pick. There's not much left of that Luca Mariano.
Yeah, it's an original. Look
But-
at that stick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got, Francesco signed it to me and everything, and that was a whole. But then I also had a little bit of this single barrel from last year on the Elijah Craig that you guys did with.
That'll catch. I have that bottle. I don't want to open that one. It was such a good one. I want to drink it, but I'm getting nostalgic now. So Kate took the 1792 that we did a couple years ago up to Ohio for her meetings. Like packed it in her suitcase so she'd have a couple. I made her bring the empty bottle back because I want to drink it and still display our barrel picks, but I can't keep protecting them. So
Yeah, because this year you'd have to add 45 more.
I think
You
this
don't
is a
have
good
that
one that
kind
y'all
of
did
room.
too.
that is amazing.
Yeah, the 2022 Old Forester. Yeah.
And I've told Chris Morris this to his face. It's like, I love Woodford because there's the connection to Derby and everything, but Old Forester to me, the 1870, 97, 1910, 1920.
Yeah.
And now they had like the 1917 that I actually have up there that I was actually gonna open that tonight, but Old Forester, man, that's tough to beat.
I like the Woodford, like their special releases from the distillery, double oak, or
Double, yeah.
I mean those.
There is one here that I have that I've been trying years to like, and I just can't. I don't know if you can.
Yeah,
Ooh, is that cherry wood?
I've tried it early on in my career, and I thought, well, I just don't know what I'm doing, so I put it away. And I don't know. It's like almost like a turpentine. Something off-putting about it, and I just can't warm up to it. But I keep safe.
all I can tell you is that.
Yeah, I've got a couple of the early ones. Cherry wood smoked barley. Wow.
That is a nice bottle. I want next time I'm at your house, pour me a pour of that.
I know it's good. I just
no. There's no such thing. If it's personal. If it's bad to you, it's bad. It's just like share it with others. I mean, you can't make it. You like something you don't like.
I know, but I want to know why I don't like it. Right?
Yeah.
It's always there's people or something off-putting, like it's astringent or it's like something I don't know enough. Even after 80 single barrels and all the stuff that I've been doing, I don't know how to verbalize what I don't like about it. But I'm not giving up on it, so I keep going back to it. I haven't dumped it in my Infinity decanter. I want to understand. I would love for you guys to drink it and help me understand what I'm tasting.
I can give you an example. I thought this bottle was gone, but it was an E.H. Taylor single barrel that Nash was able to get me. Okay, he gave it to me for Christmas, and I'm telling you that barrel. I mean, I love E.H. Taylor. I love its small batch. I love everything about E.H. Taylor, but he gave that to me 2.5 years ago, and there's still some left, and that's just was off-putting to me. It was too oak. There was too much oak. There's too much wood. Too bitter. If you taste something bitter and astringent, it doesn't mean everybody else. Some people like. All I could say is like if you don't like lobster, most people like lobster. How do you put it? You just don't like it.
I don't like lobster because it is too rich and it's too sweet or something to me. So
yeah.
Okay. Nash, have you had that same bottle that EH?
No, I never have.
Oh no, the single barrel. Oh yes, you did. I gave you some of that single barrel.
The single barrel that you yeah.
I actually
and E.H. Taylor single barrel happens to be my favorite.
Yeah, but that one single barrel.
And there is a little something different about it. To me, it was sort of like it wasn't oak. It was sort of like I almost want to say almost like a mildew type.
See?
You know,
Let's
I picked up,
see.
like musty basement.
yeah, a musty type
There was
taste.
one that I had that. So I grew up on a farm.
Mm-hmm.
One of my jobs was to get into the big grain bins
Mm-hmm.
after they've been empty. The corn was dried. The corn was put in a truck. Now I have a big empty, this big silver corrugated. My
Yeah.
job was to get in there with a ladder and a putty knife and scrape what my dad called smut, corn smut.
Yeah.
It's like the shit that got clung on the grain bin.
It got wet and stuck to it. Yeah.
It was musty, smutty smelling, and I'm in there, probably unhealthy, but whatever. The doors were open, so it wasn't like. But I picked up on that on a barrel pick not too long ago.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize till like afterwards. I'm driving home. I'm like, that. I didn't like it. I couldn't verbalize why, but it was not that strong. It was like it was the corn smut was that smell.
Yes.
And so, but it triggered that. It probably wasn't that strong, but when it triggered that, oh my God, I spent half my life until I was 17 years old, on a stepladder in a grain bin, scraping this crap off. And, you know, but I picked up on enough of that it turned me off to that. It might have been New Riff.
Oh, no, it could have been.
Neely. It might have been Neely or Jeff the Creed. It was one of those like smaller distilleries. It wasn't New Riff, but it was something.
I got that. See, now I got that from Jeff the Creed. Remember that the Jimmy Red corn that I sent up to you, Jeff? I couldn't drink it.
I gave that bottle away so fast.
Actually, we might be on. I think it was Jeff the Creed. It was because they're so proud of their corn, right?
Yeah.
It might have been that I picked up that funky ass smell.
And I got that, and I sort of got it in the taste, and I bought it when I was up there, and that was, oh my gosh, 4 or 5 years ago, and immediately I took one sip of it, and I could not drink anymore, and I sent it up to Jeff. I said, "Here, try this."
Bastard.
I bet you it's the same thing. I'm telling you what I picked up on. It triggered a memory. You might have picked up on something else. It was the corn.
Yeah.
It was in that batch, and I voted it down, and I can't remember if Stacy's still on here. She might remember, but there was one of them like and then we voted on which one we wanted to kick and which ones we wanted to continue considering. And I had that smut corn, moldy, musty corn.
That moldy, musty corn smell is by like 12% of the population. So a lot of times the distilleries will let that go through because the other 78%, no, the other 80. What?
Who told you this?
Denny, when we were at New Orleans, Denny Potter was talking about he smells that mold and Jane doesn't. And he's like, it's 12% of the population that smells that. Ann Dimmick from OHLQ can taste that and smell that when it's musty, but it's in the silo, and that's what you're talking about. That kind of mold will happen at the end of the season when you're scraping that out. That's the kind of thing. But
I had firsthand experience. I'm with a putty knife.
Oh yeah. But my worst experience.
That's why you've been able to pick up on it and smell it, and because it's sort of memory embedded.
It's the same way that you have the positive mental reinforcement of grandma making an apple pie and put it in the windowsill, and then you pick up on apple and baking spice, right?
Yeah.
And there's positive triggers, and then there's the negative, musty basement.
That's why I see it's like my mom and my grandmother, they always did a lot of baking and stuff like that. And so that's why I pick up on baking spices and stuff like that, the nutmeg and the cardamom and things like that. I can always pick up on those types of spices a lot whenever I'm tasting, especially in the rye.
You remember the sugar God, what the hell are they called? They're soft, really blonde, light colored cookies, and they have like baking spice or cinnamon like sprinkled on the top. What the hell are they called? Jeffrey, it's a Wisconsin thing. I think.
I know. I remember the brand or whatever, but they're very
there's a style
vanilla-y.
of cookie. It's not tag along. That's a Girl Scout cookie. These things were, but they always stayed soft,
Mhm.
gooey even when they're baked. But there are so many things in that cookie that I can smell when I'm sampling, tasting. It's
Yeah.
Walker says
Oh my God, what are those
Walker
snickerdoodle.
called,
saying
Jeffrey?
snickerdoodles.
Snickerdoodles.
Yeah.
Who said snickerdoodles?
Walker.
Walker.
They are snickerdoodles. That is absolutely. That's it.
Yeah.
And I can break those and nose those cookies and then go and pick that exact same thing out of whiskey. And it's the baking spices that are like embedded in that.
Well, what was it? Oh, it's gone.
Guys,
All right. Yep.
I gotta go eat.
I will.
Yeah, brother.
I will
Thank you so much
take
for
us
hanging
off.
out and everything.
Jeffrey, so much for my 20 minutes. I gotta be in and out.
Yeah, I would have. I said anytime but you said you were relaxed, so I enjoyed the time. You
Once I
enjoyed.
got in the house, and you guys chill me. If we're doing this at 5 o'clock, I might have been, but I left the house at 9 o'clock this morning, shut the computer off, had meetings until 7:30 when I headed home from Bardstown to get here. There's like 119 new emails, and 30 of them are Stacy. So I just called Stacy on the drive home, like, Stacy, you're just burying me. Let's talk through this stuff. Don't keep sending me emails. But that's everybody. Everybody keeps saying, hey, Randy, I know you're busy bumping this up. I'm like, oh my God, I can't keep up.
You know that I'm really good with texting just short, brief stuff.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, but
a lot of times people think that I don't respond, but texting is my thing. I don't want to talk to you on the phone. Text me. Boom, boom, done.
There you go.
Well, also you're really
All right, guys.
You're good at texting. All right. I will.
My Facebook and Instagram posts too.
Yeah, I enjoy those.
All right, brothers. I love you
All
guys.
right, brother. Love you too, man.
All right.
A couple weeks.
Absolutely.
Yes,
All right,
for sure.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye. I'm going to take us off Facebook. Thanks, everybody, for being on Facebook.
Absolutely. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for watching, tuning in.
And I will take us off YouTube. I don't know. I have no idea what happened on YouTube tonight. It wasn't as big. It wasn't 2,000, but it wasn't bad. Whoa, I'm trying to. Wow. YouTube just spun around. All right, here we go. Let's see what we got.